Okay, you may begin.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to join us this afternoon for the Invest Southwest RFP pre-bid conference for New City Back of the Arts. My name is Sonia Eldridge, and I'm a planner for the Department of Planning and Development. And I'm joined here today by my colleagues from DPD and other city departments who will be available to answer some of the questions you may have regarding the RFP. Just for reference, a recording of this meeting will be available on the city's website and will also be available on YouTube right after this session. And live Spanish interpretation is being provided for this session. Attendees can access the Spanish version of this presentation via the interpretation translation button on the Zoom panel at the bottom of your screen. So we'll start by doing an overview of the upcoming RFP sites, including the New City Back of the Yard site. And then we'll open it up to questions and answers for about 60 minutes or so. And then we'll conclude with next steps in the RFP process. So what are the Invest Southwest requests for proposals? So the Southwest requests for proposals represent a new approach by the department to conveying mostly city-owned land on the south and west sides. The Invest Southwest RFPs go beyond the typical model of simply providing subject property details and a brief description of preferred use, and go one step further by illustrating the desired urbanism for each RFP site, as well as a set of specific uses based on community feedback and on a market analysis that was done in collaboration with consultant teams led by the Chicago Area Committee, done on a pro bono basis. A description of financial incentive opportunities was identified for each site, including New City, with the goal of creating highly feasible projects. So over the course of the last year or so, the department has identified 12 commercial corridors across 10 community areas to focus public engagement and investments and to catalyze additional private investment. Our goal at DPD is to release a steady cadence of RFPs about every 3 months across these target community areas. The first round of RFPs were released in August of last year in Austin, Englewood, and Auburn Gresham. This next round includes New City, North Lawndale, South Chicago, and Bronzeville. So here's a snapshot of our most recently released RFPs last November, starting of course with New City at the intersection of 47th and Justine Street, just east of Ashland Avenue. The site is about 15,000 square feet. And then we have at 89th and Commercial Avenue in South Chicago, a site of about 25,000 square feet, followed by a 26,000 square feet site at 47th and Vincennes in the Bronzeville neighborhood. And lastly, in the North Lawndale community at Ogden and Homan Avenues, we have the largest site for this round, 42,000 square feet. So the RFP site in Back of the Yards New City is illustrated by this red hashed box here at the intersection of 47th and Justine. The site is 14,872 square feet of potential mixed use development, just east of the heart of the commercial corridor and Back of the Yards at 47th and Ashland. 47th Street is very busy, bustling with foot traffic as the main commercial corridor in the neighborhood, and it's home to several major grocers and numerous small businesses. City is also planning future and ongoing investments near the site, including working in partnership with Chicago Public Libraries to site a new library, in addition to public art installations in partnership with DCASE and other infrastructure projects that are currently being planned. There's also a number of community-led investments, including a new mixed-use development proposal at 46th and Ashland along the main corridor there on Ashland by a local organization, the Back of the Yards Neighborhood Council. So there's a lot of new exciting investments planned for this core area in the community. This is an aerial view of the RFP site here in red. As you can see, the site's currently being used as an informal parking lot. And this is a potential development concept for the site designed by the Lamar Johnson Collaborative. As you can see, this concept features active ground floor commercial uses with residential above. The idea is to reactivate this corner with a vibrant mixed-use development that will catalyze further commercial development along 47th Street, just east of Ashland. This is a rear view of the concept with green space. So I mentioned earlier in the presentation how a market analysis or feasibility study was completed as a part of the development of these concepts. At the city, we realized there was going to be a financing gap in the pro formas for these projects, and we're willing to bring forth various financial incentives and programs to help fill that gap. That includes everything from property tax incentives to the Neighborhood Opportunity Fund to tax increment financing, among other federal and county level incentives. Another aspect of this RFP that is really taking a new approach is how we evaluate these proposals. And within that evaluation criteria, the promotion of short and long-term community wealth building strategies. We're asking respondents to come to us with innovative and creative partnership models that showcase equitable control, local ownership of the site, and decision-making authority of Black and Latinx partners. We're also looking for firms and partnerships that have a track record of working with and making investments in the South and West Side communities of Chicago, with a track record of collaboration with local stakeholders as well. Also included is criteria that is more typical of RFPs, the financial and technical capacity to be able to deliver the project. So as a part of a larger strategy that DPD is employing, design excellence is a focus of these RFPs. In partnership with the Chicago Architecture Center, last year, DPD released a request for qualifications for design firms. An independent jury selected the firms contained within this list because they felt they had the capacity to deliver on the type and scale of projects in Invest Southwest communities with a high level of design excellence. This list of firms is included in the RFP appendix and is meant to be a resource for development teams as a part of their pre-development efforts. Another method we're employing to achieve design excellence in our neighborhoods is by defining what that means. We recently published our design excellence principles along with a set of neighborhood design guidelines, which are also contained within the RFP appendix materials. These principles go beyond design aesthetics and the built form and really talk about process and how we want to see that foster equitable development in communities across the city. This is our process timeline for the request for proposals. So just to backtrack a bit, in mid-October and early November, we held 2 visioning workshops with the community just to get a sense of the types of uses and development they'd like to see on this site. The RFP was officially released November 30th. We are now in step 2 here as we await responses from development teams. And we've allotted 4 months response time for this round to compensate for the holidays in December, beginning of the year. So the deadline for this round of RFPs is set for March 30th. And throughout this period, we're going to continue to meet with our local stakeholders through the neighborhood roundtables to engage around this project and our other Invest Southwest initiatives. After the proposal deadline passes and we've received your submissions, we'll begin our evaluation phase of the process, which we think will take about a month and a half or so. And then we'll go on to create a short list of responses, and the finalists on the short list will then have the opportunity to present their proposals to the community in the roundtable where they'll answer questions and be given feedback by local stakeholders. And DPD will actually be facilitating those presentations. And finally, we hope to have a developer selected by sometime around late May, early June. And as I mentioned previously, the goal of the department is to release RFPs every 3 to 4 months. So this next round of RFPs following this current one will be released in March, and it will include North and Chicago Avenues in Humboldt Park, the Roseland community, and South Shore. We hope you will explore these opportunities as well. And now we will open up to our Q&A portion of the meeting. Thanks, everyone. Please feel free to use the Q&A box to type out your questions. Our first question here is, are recordings of the visioning workshops from October available? I believe, and I can't, I'm not for certain. I think we do have, it's possible we have one of the 2 workshops recorded. I'm not sure that we have both of them, but all of those materials we're actually working on uploading to the Invest Southwest website as we speak. So please check the Invest Southwest website under the New City section for that information in the next few days or so.
This is Nolan. If I can jump in, we do have recordings of both of those.
Do we? We have them both, Nolan? Excellent.
Yes, we do.
Nolan. Other questions? Next question. Are you strongly encouraging MBE, WBE minority partnerships at the prime levels of construction and design?
I could help with this one, Sonia, a little bit.
Thank you, Gerardo.
Yeah, I'd say across the board, not just of construction and design, the RFP very clearly outlines community wealth building goals and aspirations, of which MBEWB is certainly a part of, but really looking at local representation and diversity at all levels of project teams. And some of the RFPs that we've received to date for our other corridors are certainly reflective of that. So it's a little bit of a proof of concept that it can be done.
Thank you. Okay. Can a response include neighboring properties in the proposed approach? And to what extent would the city like to see site control for the response?
I can jump in here.
Thank you.
I think obviously we will, as a city, review any proposal. What we set forth was really a vision for the site. But if there are other iterations of that vision that might be more financially feasible or that make the project more beneficial for the community, we'll certainly review it. I think we'll have to answer the site control question in writing shortly after this session.
Thank you, Gerardo. Next question. Can DPD confirm or offer any insight regarding the new phase communities, neighborhoods, corridors targeted for the new RFP release in early summer to follow the Humboldt Park, South Shore, and Roseland Pullman communities? Thank you.
I'll answer this one. Not anything beyond what we've shared now. I think the goal is to target those for March. And obviously, as more information become available and as we work through those with the different roundtables, we'll post stuff on the city website, on our YouTube channel, et cetera, so that folks can follow those.
Thank you, Gerardo. Can proposals include alternate programmatic elements which vary from the Lamar Johnson housing shown in the RFP? I think the answer to this question, and Gerardo, Nolan, feel free to chime in at any moment, is certainly the concept that's in the RFP by Lamar Johnson is really just to give you all a sense of the type of mixed use development that, could possibly go at that site. So it could vary. We're just really looking for robust mixed use developments at the site to really start to reactivate that parcel and that portion of the commercial corridor. So it's really just to inspire mixed use development concepts. So it doesn't have to fit directly in line, in perfect line with what you're seeing Lamar Johnson created.
Yeah, this is Nolan, and I'll let Gerardo jump in too if he wants, but I think that's essentially correct. I think we will entertain all proposals that are received. That being said, the RFP does include a number of goals and programmatic uses that the neighborhood and the community have articulated that they want to see on the site. And so I think we're definitely going to prioritize those proposals that try to incorporate some of the things that the community wants to see on the site.
And if I could just add a little bit more to that, part of what's in the RFP and what's in the vision for the site is based both in neighborhood desires and priorities that we gather through our roundtable meetings, but also in market and financial feasibility. So our consultant team through the Chicago Central Area Committee included development consultants that performed a market analysis to try to understand, the types of uses that could yield a financially feasible proposal at this site. And so that's where the programmatic elements that you're seeing are coming from. I think obviously Nolan and Sonia captured that. We'll review any proposal that captures that spirit of a pedestrian-oriented mixed-use environment, and we'll review it against the kind of evaluation criteria, financial feasibility being one of those.
Next question. When is the next roundtable meeting for the new city project? So we just had our monthly roundtable for January today. Nolan, we have.
Yeah, the next one would be February 18th at 11 a.m.
Thank you. Are there other questions? Give folks a minute or two to collect their thoughts. Okay, next question. Housing is part of the submittal. If you see a submittal that better supports the community. Seems like that question was cut off. If you could please provide a little bit more context. We're happy to take your question. We'll come back to that one. Next question. What's the transportation like in this area? So I can take this question. So there's a red line station about 1.5 miles to the east on 47th Street. There's also an orange line station it's a little under 1.5 miles to the west on Western Avenue at 49th Street. But then you're right there next to Ashland Avenue, the bus line, number 9. So that's a very busy bus line right there. And then you also have the 47th Street bus that connects to the red line right there as well. A 1.5 miles is long. Does the city have any plans to invest in more to host transportation there? Great question. I'm not sure if we're joined by anyone from CTA at the moment.
This is Nolan. I mean, I can sort of answer this. I think, we continue to have conversations with our partners at the Department of Transportation and the CTA around improving kind of transit accessibility and transit amenities in the area. And so I think that's something that is an ongoing conversation.
Thanks, Nolan. Okay, here's the follow-up to the previous question. If you see a submittal that better supports the community needs and focuses on building community wealth, will this proposal be acceptable or will it be disqualified? This was the housing question. Housing is a part of the submittal. If you see a submittal that better supports the community needs and focuses on community wealth building, will this be acceptable or disqualified?
Yeah, so I'll take this again, and certainly if Gerardo or Chris want to jump in on this as well. But I think, again, we will entertain all proposals that we receive, including ones that may not include housing as a component. Housing was included in the RFP or in the vision because it unlocks resources that may help make that project more financially feasible. That being said, if we receive a proposal that does not include a housing component, but is financially feasible, I imagine that we would consider that project.
Okay, next question. Will neighbors be notified in advance about any upcoming meetings? They most certainly will be via our neighborhood roundtable network that we've developed. So that's a public meeting that folks are able to join if they contact me directly or Nolan, or just email the general DPD city website. But yes, the answer to that question is yes. Next question. You mentioned that the city investigated sites for a new public library along 47th. Have they identified where this may go and what programs it may offer? So not yet, actually. And I don't know, Nolan, if you want to jump in here.
Yeah, this is an ongoing conversation with Chicago Public Libraries. There have been several sites that have been floated. None of them have been confirmed or finalized. And I think we would need to defer to Chicago Public Libraries around what type of programming they might provide at a new library location.
Gerardo, do you have anything you'd like to add?
No, I think Nolan summed it up fairly well.
Okay, thank you. Okay, another question. And we had Patrick. Patrick, if you don't mind, can you put your question in the Q&A box for us, please?
Yeah, and Sonia, actually, Art Dolinsky wanted to further
Elaborate.
elaborate on the response to the issue with, will we accept a proposal that doesn't include housing? All proposals will be reviewed, but I think we need to be pretty clear that proposals will be evaluated in accordance with the RFP evaluation criteria.
Thank you. Arthur, did you want to say anything more?
I think he's having mic issues.
Oh, okay. Okay, well, Arthur, if at any point you, or let's see here, that's nothing I can do on my end to support, is it, Gerardo? It's his own,
Yeah, I think it's his.
okay, his own mic issue, okay. Okay, we have a few more questions here. Neighbors on 47th and Justine need information in Spanish. Will that be provided? And
Yeah,
Nolan,
this is Nolan. Yeah, I mean, we are certainly, we've heard that loud and clear over the last couple meetings. We are working to increase our capacity to provide translation, bilingual meetings, materials translated in Spanish. And so, yeah, so that we are certainly committed to improving communication in that way.
And starting with today's meeting, it's being provided with Spanish interpretation.
Thank you both. Next question. How were the construction costs determined in the RFP, and what data was used to set them as shown?
Someone from financial incentives maybe can chime in.
Let's see if someone's joined us at this point. I'm not seeing anyone at the moment.
Yeah, this is Chris Jang.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, no one from the Financial Incentive Division was able to join today, but if we have any follow-up response, we would make sure to kind of update the question and answer section. But I could give it a try. So the pro forma that is in the RFP document is based on basically a 53,000 square foot of multi-story, 5 and under floors of mixed-use building with approximately 50 unit of affordable housing units. And the assumption was to use the 4% low-income housing tax credit, as well as equity and debt. And we identified that there could be approximately $6.3 million in non-serviceable gap that could be created for this project with that assumption. So if you look at the page 35 and 36 of the RFP document, so it sort of lists out our assumptions and the thoughts that are going into creating this pro forma. So hope that answers the question.
And if I could just add to the specific question about construction costs, we did have a development consultant on the project team as we developed the RFP, who provided construction cost assumptions. And then our financial incentives division compared that against projects of similar scale and type to essentially generate the numbers that are included in the pro forma.
Any other questions? Give you all another minute or so to collect your thoughts. If you have other questions, you still have some time here. Here's another question. How will parking work for this new project on 47th and Justine?
Might be easier to kind of show it in one of the images, Sonia.
Yeah, let's go back here. Thanks, Gerardo. So here on this massing diagram, you see this to the left under the green space and under the building, there's this tuck under surface parking. That's one way to go about handling parking at the site. But then there's also within the RFP suggestion to reach out to the owners of the surface parking lot directly across to the street, excuse me, to form some sort of lease agreement, because there's a large surface parking lot there that's highly underutilized that could also contribute to supporting parking for this site, considering the size of it is a little less than ideal for surface parking. But with that said, it's also in close proximity to the number 9 bus and the 47th Street bus. So it is a transit-oriented development as well that would require fewer parking spaces than normal by ordinance. I don't know if Nolan or Gerardo has anything to add to that.
No, I think that captures it. The only other thing maybe is in this configuration, the parking would be accessed off of the alley.
Thank you. More questions? Okay, here's a couple more. What are the aspirational goals for building green and sustainable? So this building, this development, the site would be subject to our sustainable policy that we have at the city. So it would, any proposals that come through for this site would be viewed through that lens, through that policy. I don't know if anyone else has anything to add on that.
Yeah, this is Chris. So if you look at the RFP document, page 33, it talks about sustainability and some of the requirements that could potentially be required. So you know, feel free to take a look at that section of the RFP document.
Thanks, Chris. And then another question. Are you able to confirm if this property qualifies for TOD? And I think the answer to that is yes, due to its proximity to the number 9 bus line and the 47th Street bus that connects to the red line just east of the site.
Yeah, this is Nolan. We will confirm, but I believe the Ashland bus is one of the designated TOD bus lines.
It is Nolan. I can confirm that now. Okay, here's another question. What is the process in selecting tenants for these units? So that would all be, the idea is that these units would be for local residents, right? But that would all be determined based on the proposal set forth by the actual developer. I don't know if Nolan wants to add to that.
I can add to that a little bit.
Thanks, Gerardo.
There's two things here. One is, you know, it could be a local or a nonprofit or whoever developer, you know, would respond to the RFP. And the way that the process in terms of community engagement for other corridor RFPs has occurred is that developers are then present their proposals to the community. And so those types of issues are vetted with our roundtable and community residents and prioritized for developers. And at the point that the city makes a selection based on a short list, you know, these are the types of issues that we could then negotiate or handle in the negotiation process, as well as the developer can prioritize based on community feedback.
Thank you, Gerardo. Okay, you mentioned preference for previous experience with city programs as a priority. How do they see that being measured, and what types of experience are most valued? Chris or Gerardo, would you like to take that one?
Yeah, I'm gonna assume that preference for city previous experience means like previous development experience, and so we'd be looking, or, you know, I think the evaluation criteria is clear in that, you know, developers who can show experience in developing similar or can demonstrate experience in successfully delivering similar type and scale of projects, obviously would be viewed favorably. That being said, you know, that is also needs to be weighed with community wealth building and local partnerships and how all that comes together. So I think that answers the question. I'm not exact. I think that's what the question was asking. And if not, if you'd like to clarify, we can try to respond as well.
Of course. Does that answer the question? I think it does. Does anyone else have questions?
Hi, this is Chris. Arthur from our law department actually mentioned that the RFP talks about evaluating experience as opposed to a preference. So we will look at the respondents' qualifications, and that includes, you know, the previous project experience, as Geraldo mentioned. And I think if you look at the RFP document page number 43, it talks about some of the respondents' qualifications that describes what kind of experience that we might be looking for from that section.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Arthur.
Chris.
Are there other questions? we still have a little bit of time. I'll give you all another minute or so to see if you can come up with any other questions. But if not, we'll go ahead and move on to concluding remarks and next steps.
Yeah, so I understand, I know that the Alderman Taylor joined us briefly, but I think she had to jump off to another call. But now I see that the Commissioner Cox has joined the call. So
Oh,
Commissioner,
thank
would you
you.
like to say a few words?
Thanks, Chris. Hi, Commissioner.
Hello. Now, just that this is really exciting to finally get introduce and clarify questions for the Back of the Yard's new city. I'm really excited by this group of opportunities that we're bringing forward, and I just wanted to listen in to the kinds of questions and just encourage a really robust response to this particular opportunity. So thank you, guys.
Thanks for joining, Commissioner. Are there other questions? Well, if there's no other questions, I think we'll go ahead and finish up with next steps in the process. I don't know if Chris maybe wants to walk us through that a bit.
Sure. Thank you, Sonia, and thank you everybody for attending and participating in this private conference today. If you can think of any questions later on, you can always send your question to us, and then we would update the question and answer document that is posted on the Invest Southwest website, so you can continue to update yourself with other questions that came in from other people, paired with the answers that we provided. The list of attendees to this private conference will be shared with everybody who registered today, and also be posted on the InvestHouse website. So you can expect to get that email and the website posting probably within a week or so. In addition, like I said, if you can continue to send us your questions, and we will provide a response to those questions, as well as post that updated question and answer document on our InvestHouse website until we would actually field and answer questions until March 23rd, a week before the due date, which is March 30th. And as stated in the RFP document, the proposals are due by 4 o'clock on March 30th. And the submission should include an original and 5 copies, as well as a flash drive containing all digital files. And the submission can be delivered to City Hall room 1000 by a courier service. Currently, City Hall is closed. So I think the courier service is probably the best way to deliver the submission to us. I think that pretty much does it for next steps.
Thank you, Chris. Again, thank you everyone for joining us this afternoon, and please forward your questions our way. And like Chris said, the updated Q&A document will be posted online in the coming days that will include all of the questions we've covered today during this session. Again, we thank you for your time, and we very much look forward to receiving your submissions. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.